All right, good afternoon, all of you. So, welcome back after the tea. Uh, I had two sessions with you yesterday, and the topic was business plan. I am Professor Sanjeev Chadda. I'm working as Professor and Head Management Development Center, Mahatma Gandhi State Institute of Public Administration. So, this 1 hour we'll be devoting towards how to prepare a project report, or we term it as a project appraisal also. Meaning thereby that if you just correlate what we did yesterday while we formulated a business plan, now see, no business plan can be successful till the time you have access to some good funds, because see, only the mere money makes the mayor go round. So you have to have money. So idea is that when you have a plan, when you have a business plan, and when you have an idea, and now you have documented the idea, you put that idea into perspective. Just remember what we did yesterday, and now you have to approach a financial institution or a bank, or maybe some venture capitalist or some financier who could put in his money into your project. So your own money plus the money that the investor will put you. So that will help to raise that kind of a money, and then you could implement your project as such. So it is very important that your project should be a good project, and it should be a feasible project. Bankers or financial institutions as such, we call this as a techno-economic feasibility report. Techno-economic feasibility report. So in this report, we while you give a project, while you give a project of loan to a banker, so he will try to carry out a techno-economic feasibility report to find out that whether your project is a viable project. Now, what do we mean by viable project? Somebody can throw some light on this? Viable?
Sustainable.
Yes, very right. Sustainable in what sense?
In the sense of it should last longer, and it should fulfill the objective profit.
All right. See, banker has just one motive, and that motive is कि क्या मेरा पैसा वापस आएगा. That's all. और उसको कोई मतलब नहीं है कि आपका प्रोजेक्ट. हाँ, so there are other social cost benefit analysis also, economic analysis also, but he is bothered about one thing. If I pay you 1 crore over a period of 7 years, 10 years, you have to pay me 1 crore, 10 lakh, 20 lakh, 30 lakh, whatever, with interest. Would you be able to pay me? And you would be only able to pay me if your project generates some kind of a revenue and some kind of a profit. See, that is why when I said yesterday, while we discussed that when we talk about a business plan, we are talking about something that generates profit, and that generates profit on paper. That means either it's a public limited company, or it's a private limited company, or it's a partnership, or it's a sole proprietorship, but not for profit companies. They may not come into all this gambit, because of the simple reason that their services, everything, it should be a known profit, in the sense maybe at the most stage that we may say it's a no profit, no loss basis. But then we will not be able to generate that kind of a profit. So that is why that is a little difficult. Otherwise, if you don't take it on paper, I think such companies, such organizations, they are generating the most of the profits. Take the case of, that Mata Mansa Devi Shrine Board is here. When I was at HFC, mind you, we were taking loans from them. Haryana Financial Corporation was taking loans from Mata Mansa Devi Shrine Board, and we were giving it to the loanees. So you may see how much the kind of money that Mata Mansa Devi Shrine Board was generating. I mean, loans, we were taking loans as an FDR for 5 years, 10 years at a rate of 10%, 15% at that point of time. I'm talking about 1990s, 2000 only. And see, our Balaji is one of the richest god. Mata Vaishno Devi Shrine Board is one of the richest gods. Similarly, you have Vatican is one of the richest gods. And see, these are organizations who don't tell you that, okay, you pay to us, but still they are the richest. I mean, I'm not talking in that sense. So we'll include only those organizations which are there to generate profits and which are generate revenue as such for some kind of services that they provide to the people. So banker as such will be responsible or should be, interested in that aspect. And whatever business proposal you give to a banker as a business plan, so he considers it from the start, and he tries to find out whether that project will be a feasible project or a viable project or not. If it is a viable or a feasible project, then he will be able to extend some kind of a financial assistance to you for setting up a plan. So we'll talk about this. We have already done last day, so I'll not repeat. Now coming on to what is a project, because see, bankers will give you loan for setting up some kind of a project. कोई आपने project set करना है, आप banks के पास approach करेंगे, तो banks आपको assistance देने को तैयार है, because the primary purpose of bank, and we term it as development banking. See, you remember IDBI? What is D in ID? It is development, Industrial Development Bank of India. So this is a development bank which initially was different from your commercial banks. Now with universal banking coming up, all these lines have blurred and they are doing all kind of activities, and we call this as universal banking. So that is why IDBI is not there now. It has become a bank, and which we term as an IDBI bank. Similarly, the same thing was done by IFCI, then ICICI. So they were the ones who were doing similar thing. Then SIDBI, Small Industries Development Bank of India, for small scale sector, just to give a push to the small scale sector. Plus you had the state financial corporations, state industrial development corporations, Khadi village udyog boards, who tried to, who gave loans to the small, tiny micro entrepreneurs who came to them for various loaning as such. So this was the structure of development banking. But today it has become blood. And the financial institutions, especially IDBI is a bank now. SIDBI, okay, is a separate organization, but it is the activities are not so focused. Then you have IFCI not doing so well. So banks now are doing so much. The reason is that the banks have a very, the cost of capital to a bank is very little. Your salary, which is 1 lakh rupee, and is lying in the bank, and the bank is just paying you 2%, 3% on a saving bank account. Because you don't bother. And similarly, let's say if we are 1 lakh people whose 1 lakh is lying idle, and it is just at a percentage of 2-3, and bank is lending it at the rate of 10, 11, 12, 13%. So the kind of cost of funds that the banks has, nobody has that access. So that is why this explains why IDBI converted itself into a bank. Otherwise, the cost of funds for IDBI Limited would have been at that point of time 15 to 18%, and it would have been lending, taking a 3% cut, taking a 3% spread. So if it was getting funds at 15%, it was lending at 18%. But even 15% is too high to get in these terms. So, but if you get it 3%, 4%, 5%, and the average cost of funds for a bank is just 7-8%. So, and if they are lending at 11-12%, so they are gaining. So that is why banking has become very relevant today. And if you approach a bank, they are very much willing to lend you now, because they have flush of funds. They have so much funds available to them. They are very happy to help to you. But only thing is that they want a viable project. Now, what is a project? Project, just please see on your screens. One shot, time limited, goal directed, major undertaking requiring the commitment of varied skills and resources. So any organization which is built to fulfill organizational objectives by utilizing man-made and capital resources, that can be termed as a project, but that has a formulation stage, and that has a implementation stage. And a plan, business plan as such, could be only on paper, but a project wherein the business plan stops, the project starts. I hope I am clear on this. बिजनेस प्लान आपका प्लान बनकर खत्म हो गया, उसके बाद जो शुरू हुआ कंडक्ट, वो सारे को क्या बोलेंगे? प्रोजेक्ट. A very fine line divides the two. So planning parts can be termed as a business plan, but once it is conducted and everything, let's say you start doing it, then it becomes a project. Now, how do the bankers does it? What is a project appraisal? I mean, as I've already explained to you, project. Now, appraisal of a project, or overseeing a project, or supervising a project, or seeing whether the project is a viable project or not. And the bull's eye here, or the eagle's eye is, ये आदमी मेरा पैसा वापस करेगा कि नहीं करेगा. बस बैंकर को इतनी ईगल आई है, 10 साल तक अगर मैंने आपको लोन देना है तो मैं 11वें साल में बॉदर नहीं हूं. मेरी जो थॉट प्रोसेस है वो 10 साल तक है कि 10 साल में क्या ये प्रोजेक्ट, whether this project will be able to generate that kinds of revenue, that kinds of income, that it is able to sustain itself on one go, and it is able to service my debt. That is the word that we use. Service my debt. That means repay my debt along with interest. That is my focus. If I have been able to do it, so if we assess, if we estimate that aspect, and the banker then becomes your friend, philosopher, and guide here. Because last day I was giving you an example that when somebody so excited came to me that, okay, I have a property and you take this property, or and you give a loan, I said, please go back and think on these parameters. And mind you, if he would have approached a local lender wherein that people could have given him money against property, so उसने तो अपने वो property बिकवा देनी थी. So banker is then your friend who will then estimate your business plan, that whether your business plan is a good plan or not. And if he says yes to it, so then that means you have done your homework correct. Now your partners are increasing. Your bank becomes your financial partner because he is putting the money in your project. Your vision has now been inculcated and transferred to the banker as well. So that is very, very, very important, that your project or a business plan should be such detailed, and there should be the idea that it can be converted into revenue, it can be converted into profit, so that the banker wants to become your partner. And in today's time, it is a high possibility that because they have so much funds available with them, suppose you have a good idea, and see, they'll be after you. Maybe let's say you approach a State Bank of India and a PNB knows that you have an account therein and you are approaching SBI for such kind of a loan. So they'll be after you कि आप हमारे से loan लो. Why are you going to them? You have an account with. Yes, that is the position now. It was the position earlier was that people approaching, banks. But today the idea is that if you have got a good idea, if you've got a good reputation, so then the bankers will approach you that why don't you expand the capacities? Why don't you, come out? And I've done it myself. See, while I was at Delhi Financial Corporation, and it looks after Delhi, one go, and Chandigarh. Chandigarh is another area which is being looked after the jurisdiction of Delhi Financial Corporation. So herein, all these hotel lines, Hotel 35 sector, if you are from Chandigarh, was once upon a time financed by Delhi Financial Corporation. So be it your Piccadilly, be it Sunbeam, be it your Heritage, be it the GK, then KC, all these, the entire line put all together. Now things have been different because they have options now. They were once upon a time financed by Delhi Financial Corporation. So when I was the branch manager, I saw who are the good repay masters, who are repaying our loans well. So out of this bunch of 12, 13, there were 2-3 hotels who were paying our loans quite well. 10 were not paying much, or 10 were not paying as per the schedule. So there were problems out there. So I approached them. Why don't you expand the capacity? Why don't you go for, renovation? So bankers, because see, you have targets for yourself, and you would always like to give it to somebody who's got a good reputation. Because if the money is such a thing, because see, people who actually want money, they will not get money because their reputation becomes so bad in the market that they are not repaying. And no banker would like to burn its fingers giving the money to such a person who is not able to repay the loan as such. So therefore, it is very important that you appraise the project. World Bank, followed by IDBI, IFCI, then the pro forma was given to the state financial corporations. So we had a very foolproof method of appraising a project. Mind you, during my stay, I worked for 10 years with HFC, DFC, both combined together. I did around 150 appraisals. And I can say with some pride and whatever, that majority of them did well. Though business, once you are in business, and those people who read, you will find out that only 15 to 20% of the business succeeds. 80% generally, higher the risk, higher the return. So if I say that majority of them did well, so that means that we employed ourselves, we involved ourselves, and we gave only to those people whom we thought that would be able to do well. And mind you, these were not all people that who were, there were people who were first generation entrepreneurs also. But we could see the steam, we could see the fire in their eyes. And today they are big. Amartex was financed by Haryana Financial Corporation. Amartex, everybody knows, is doing very well. First loan was by HFC, 30 lakhs. And it went from strength to strength. Even Infosys, for that matter, first loan that they got was from Karnataka State Financial Corporation. It was around 50-60 lakhs. And today, see, where is Infosys? Even because we were at Haryana, Lakshmi Precision Screws, if you talk about it, there's a big concern now. This was also HFC. So they have generated, they have made, and these were first generation entrepreneurs who came to them. Even Jindal's, OP Jindal, initially, yes. So these are few, and yes, many of them went bad also. These are names that I am saying who did very well. But let's say if we take one good name, we have 20 bad names also, which were not doing well. But development banking is like this only. I was giving an example yesterday about venture capital, that if you finance 100 projects, out of 100 only one will do well, and this one, if it does well, it will take care of your 1,000 projects. That is the kind of profits that you will be making after doing this. So they know there's a lot of risk therein, and then there is return is also therein. So in project appraisal, what I am telling you is that if you do your project appraisal as per the rule that has been therein, so there are, I think, majority of the chances that the project will do well. And those people who are unscrupulous in nature, they will be weeded out in this process itself. Now I'll tell you how we used to do it. This I've talked about. This is the component that we used to study. And for a business plan also, you can study, because see, before somebody is coming to us, he has not put anything in implementation phase, majorly. Everything is in the conceptual stage only. Everything is on paper. And if you take in view all those points which are now on the screen, this we termed as a techno-economic feasibility report. If you prepare this report, and while you are preparing your business plan, like many of you came up with a business plan yesterday, now just see, you can compare it. I thought you had a good sleep yesterday, huh? Or some ideas are coming, ये भूल गया, हाँ? कि शायद इसको और ऐड कर लेते, आ रहा था?
ये जो पॉइंट्स हैं, हाँ, इन पॉइंट्स पे भी वो चीज हो सकती है।
नहीं, इन्हीं पॉइंट्स पे ही चीज होती है। अभी जो हम लोगों ने पहले किया वो था एक लेमैन का पॉइंट, है ना? दिस इज अ टेक्निकल पॉइंट हाउ वी यूज्ड टू डू इट, एंड इफ यू कैन इंक्लूड दिस एज पार्ट ऑफ योर बिजनेस प्लान, सी योर बिजनेस प्लान बिकम्स फुल प्रूफ, because this is actually how the bankers do it, starting from the World Bank to the IFC, IIDBI, SIDBI, and the state financial corporations, even now all nationalized banks also, they follow this process only. So when we talk about a project, we talk about the various aspects of a project. We have to see the technical analysis, the economic analysis, the financial analysis, the commercial analysis, and the social cost benefit analysis, and add to it is the management analysis. So like if you ask me, this is another way of doing it. So if you ask me, the first thing that when I did many appraisals, the first thing that I pondered over was, who's the promoter? Pehla sawal. All these things are secondary to me as a banker. Everybody can have his own way of doing things. I mean, all these are very important, which I've laid down. But one thing that I laid the most emphasis was, who is the man behind the show? First thing. Now, what do we, what do we consider in here? क्या करेंगे? इसको क्या consider करते हैं? What do you say? क्या बोलते हैं? Supposing you are, I say it is a management appraisal. So management appraisal is the man behind the. Now tell me why it is so very important. I told you I did 150 projects and majorly they did well. Majorly they did well. A few of them tanked also, but majorly they did well. So what was the reason? And I gave a lot of emphasis on this because if this was all right, then I came on to the other aspect, which was the, where I've talked about technical and commercial and economic, but I gave a lot of importance to the management part. Now, what is the house to say here? What do you think, and why do you think it was so very important?
Credibility, basically, I think that is the most important.
Very true.
He's accountable towards his project.
Very true. And what should we see here? Yes.
Such a person is behind the project. That means he has scanned the project in his eyes and he find the project fit for promotion.
Okay. All right.
He has the technical know-how.
Very good. And see, I'm talking about the era when there was no CIBIL scores. Are you all aware about CIBIL scores?
Yeah.
CIBIL scores are this Credit Information Bureau of India Limited. Credit Information Bureau of India Limited. In today's time, see, if you approach a banker for a loan, the first thing that the banker does is that it will ask you for your KYC. That means your PAN card, your today Aadhaar card, but generally the PAN card. It puts your PAN number in the software, and this will tell you, even if you don't disclose, it will tell you, oh, आपका तो एक लोन स्टेट बैंक ऑफ पटियाला से चल रहा है, हाँ, उसकी 2 किस्तें दी नहीं है, एक आप का लोन वेव ऑफ हुआ है, और so many things. Yeah, सब कुछ ठीक चल रहा है. So you should have a score which should be greater than 700.
सर मैं एक चीज बोलना चाहता हूँ.
हाँ.
अभी मैंने ना हाउसिंग लोन लिया.
जी जी.
अच्छा मेरा स्कूटर मैंने लिया था प्रोडक्ट.
हाँ.
अच्छा उसका मैंने पूरा लोन भी पे करके सब कुछ हो गया.
हाँ.
सिर्फ उनसे एनओसी नहीं ली थी.
जी जी.
ठीक है.
बिल्कुल ठीक.
वो वहाँ पे उन्होंने रिफ्लेक्ट कर दिया.
हाँ कर दिया.
कि वो एनओसी नहीं आ रही.
राइट.
मुझे वहाँ जाना पड़ा. मेरे सारे पेपर भी नहीं थे मेरे
हाँ, हाँ.
वो कहीं से मेरे को मिला बड़ी मुश्किल से कहीं पड़ा था एक पेपर. फिर वो एनओसी ली उनसे. उसके बाद सबमिट किया. मतलब आई एम नॉट अवेयर ऑफ. 10-12 साल हो गए.
हाँ बिल्कुल ठीक. See, very true, very true. See, I am a banker myself from financial institution and a lot of knowledge and experience into this regard. I had to take a vehicle. So I went to the loan and the branch manager was my friend. So he asked me, "Abhi sir, kab aao loan lo, kuch lo." I said, "Okay, I have my account with HDFC Bank," and they were after me. They said, "We have sanctioned you a loan whenever you can avail." I didn't want to, frankly. We are on record and YouTube, everything is there. So I wanted to, if at all I have to take a loan, I will take from a nationalize. Somehow, maybe. No plus minus is some site as well. So I, I asked him, I requested him, okay, I said, I am having this vehicle now and want a small loan. So he put, on the face of it, he processed the entire thing. On my face, he processed entire thing, and he didn't. He said CIBIL to. I mean, maybe he would have thought over be CIBIL Dr. Saab ka kya CIBIL to theek hi hoga sara. So now while the last stage they had to offer and he put in the CIBIL. उसमें आ गया भाई फलाना credit 1200 खड़ा credit card. 3 credit cards it showed. One had an amount of 1200. In one 2500 was waived off. In another, I think 3,000, some amount was this. So he asked me, he said, "ये तो sir आपका score कम आ रहा है." Huh? So I said, "Why?" Because we didn't bother. He gave me out this, and so I said, "Oh, the credit cards." When I was a faculty at ICFI, so my students, they were trainees in these credit card companies. So just to show their target, they came and made my this credit card. But I said, never use credit cards. I mean, as per my philosophy, I use debit card rather than credit card. because once or twice, you don't pay this 30-40 days, and then you have to pay a big amount later. So that way, that I burned my fingers once, so I don't use as such. So I said, I asked him, I said, do you feel that 1200 rupees, because what has happened that 1 year they gave you for free. Next year we didn't bother. So they started putting that fee of 600, 700. Then they were, it actually accentuated to 1200, 1400 or 2000, 3000. Later on they realized we sent letters and all that we are not interested. You take, and we have already cut that credit card and sent it to our dustbin. So they waived it off. But that is reflected in your history. I mean, this is a very small point, and he agreed also. He gave later on. He said, "Okay, we'll give you. That's not an issue." But yes, as you rightly said, it becomes reflected. But I am talking about the times when there was no CIBIL. So the appraising officer was responsible for everything that point of time. Wherein, and the business was smart. Maybe the business had 3-4 bad loans in other banks, and still they came to you with such big confidence and such big vehicle and with such a big house that you cannot actually realize that they are having bad loans also. And even balance sheet, can be as per your wishes. That was a time. Things are changing now. Things have changed now over all these years, but even that was the time. So that is why we gave a lot of marks to the who's the man behind the show. So herein, what we used to say is, who is the man? What is his qualification? If he is setting up a, let's say, a pen manufacturing company, whether he has any kind of a technical knowledge or experience in this line, or if he is experienced, then at what level? If he is not experienced, then is one of the board of directors or a technical director experienced who will run this show? Let's say if somebody is running a steel plant and tomorrow he says, I run a telecom company. So if he comes to me, see, I will not give him a loan right away. He may be as big. Till the time I'm sure that he has got a lot of, experience, or he has people who can run that show for him. Otherwise, his experience in some other industry may not hold good. But yes, if you are an educationist, you are put in 20 years into education. Tomorrow, you want to set up a school and you come to me, sir, I want a loan. I will give you a loan. If all other factors are okay, because you are the one who have got experience, who have got qualification, you have the relevant experience in the line, you know people, you network, and there are main chances that you will be able to succeed in a project rather than anybody who comes as a, let's say, who was running a batta and tomorrow he says that I would run a engineering college, which is happening as of now today. So that thing has to be seen. So man behind the project, his education qualification, his experience, his technical know-how, why does he want to get into the project, what are his objectives behind the project, what is vision, mission, and if all things are satisfied, then we on personal level I moved on to the other thing. और अगर नहीं होता था तो यहीं पर कोई ना कोई कहानी करके भाई नहीं देंगे, you approach somebody else, we will not pay. So that was the reason. And you have to see here also that what is the character of the person, because if you just see their balance sheets, let's say if it's an existing company, they would have taken loans. Best way was to go to their banker and find out that what is their repayment behavior, and your balance sheet will tell you that whether they are making revenues or whether they are not making revenues, or whether they are making profits or whether they are not making profit. So if these 2-3 things are okay, and idea is to actually go to the people, because appraisal means field work. Appraisal is not in the AC rooms. For appraisal, you have to see what plants they are doing, what work they are doing, go to their bankers, go to their suppliers, and to find out each and everything, that whatever the promoter says on paper, you have to check it out whether it is good or bad or ugly. And you as a friend and philosopher, with your own knowledge, because maybe if he's a first generation entrepreneur, he is setting it for the first time, but you as an appraising officer, you would have maybe appraised hundreds of projects and maybe tens of projects like that. So you can tell him that, oh, don't purchase this machinery, rather purchase this one. This may be a little costlier, but then the output is much better, and you rather go and visit this plant. I had financed this plant. So your business plan with the help of a banker, it actually becomes a plan which can be put into a action scheme. So I hope this is clear. Management appraisal. So second aspect that we would see is the technical analysis or the technical appraisal. So I think all of you are technical people out here. What is the technical appraisal? I can sit. Technical appraisal क्या होगा? Very right. Now what do we include here? Two? Yes, very right. Very true. So it says what is the size of your project? Now what do we mean by the size of the project? Yes, very good. We term it as the installed capacity. I think you've heard this terminology, installed capacity. What is the installed capacity?
What the quantity per manufacturing that day?
Yes. Supposing you have set up one machine, you set up a plant which manufactures this kind of pens, and you set up a machine which manufactures in 1 hour. It manufactures, supposing for example, 10 pens in 1 hour. So if you have a shift of 8 hours, it can manufacture how many? 80 pens. And supposing you have 3 shifts of 8 hours each, it can manufacture 80 into 3, that is 240. And in 1 year, it could be 240 into multiplied by 360. So that is your installed capacity. Now, why do we consider installed capacity? क्यों देखते हैं installed capacity? And how does the viability of the project is dependent on this?
What is that scope of expansion of your production?
Very right.
And we have in economics, we have economies of scale, learning curve, all that. You can rely on those economies of scale, learning curve, and you can going for break even in the given installed capacity or not.
Right. Very true. See, basically, your entire production will depend upon the machinery, because your entire finances will come out of this. See, when I can manufacture only 240 pens a day into multiplied by 365 pens a year. So and if I sell one pen at 10 rupees, so 240 into 365 into 10, that could be the maximum revenue that I could get. ठीक है ना, Gupta ji? That is the maximum revenue that I can get. And if the cost of production of one pen is 6 rupees, so my cost of production 240 into 365 into 6 rupees. So that would be the cost of my inputs. Inputs are the raw materials. And if the operating profits that I get, that means just on the basis of what is my input and output is 4 into 365 into 240. So that is my operating profit. So that is the maximum that I could get. So that is why if we are not able to generate, and let's say if I ask banker for a loan of 1 crore and my total revenue is not matching 1 crore. So he says, भाई आपका तो total revenue ही 1 crore नहीं है, तो आप कैसे आ रहे हो हमारे पास? आपको तो बच कितना रहा है? 4 into 365 into 240. यही तो बच रहा है आपको. So now what see your and you are very excited, and वो excited उसने उसी time puncture कर दिया आपका. Getting my point? So this answers your business plans that you did yesterday. Now how would you bring in your the revenue model and the cost model as such? So what is the option? फिर क्या option है? Reject करे banker? क्या option करे?
Scaling down the amount of loan.
Yes, that is one option. दूसरा, increase the machinery, capacity increase कर दो. दो ही तो चीजें. या तो आप अपना इसको थोड़ा कर दो लोन को, which I think is not a very good idea. So then other idea is now you would see that how much you can increase your capacity so that you are able to earn for yourself also, and then you're able to generate profit so that you are able to service your debt also. So all these factors, they tend to be considered here. Now just go through this, what all you would be considering while in the technical analysis. So manufacturing process or technology, technical arrangements, what machines you would like to use, what are the pluses, SWOT analysis of the machinery, what is the cost, comparison of the cost, how much it is producing per day, how much it is producing per hour. Then apart from this, what will be my materials and inputs and everything, what will be my product mix. Let's say in one machine, whether it is able to generate just only this one pen, or we can have other pens also. Let's say pens like this also can be made into this, depending upon my situation, whichever is, because this pen may sell 70 rupees, this may sell maybe 30 rupees. So even if this is possible, maybe we can have a mix of both also. Then plant capacity, because majorly while we were appraising, our main eagle's eye was on the plant capacity. So that is why I started with the plant capacity, because machinery has to be procured and to be identified by the promoter. And I as a banker would not be very much interested. हाँ, मुझे तब लगेगा जब आप बोलोगे machinery from a local supplier in Ludhiana. So my then bells will ring with me that why is taking from Ludhiana when that CNC machine is available with the Rico or with the maybe L&T or otherwise, and then charge is too much. फिर हमारी घंटियां बजने लग जाती हैं. Till the time you say whether it is Sony or whether it is L&T or whether it is Rico or Siemens, we will not mind. That is your choice. हमें उससे कोई ज्यादा फर्क नहीं पड़ेगा. But when you say that okay, some manufacturer in Gujarat, so I will say okay, हाँ भाई, then we'll check it out whether that supplier is good. We'll not say no, but we'll check it out. And sometimes we made ourselves as fake customers. I am Fulana speaking from here, even voice change करके, है ना, now I want this machinery, how much? So sometimes they had over invoiced that, so we tend to know. But generally, if you say Siemens, if you say L&T, if you say all these who are standard reputed suppliers, so uska zyada farak nahi hoga. One could be, let's say, for example, 60,000 rupees, other could be 58, somebody could be 62, 65, 5, 10%. And but that is your choice. I will not be bothered much about it. I will be bothered about what will be my installed capacity. Banayega kitna revenue. And then because I have to, this one linkage goes to my financial analysis. Then machinery, location and site. Now, why is location important?
Where from you are going to get your supplies and where are you going to supply your product?
Yes. So both as part of input also and as a part of output also. See, this explains why a small commercial space in Chandigarh would cost you crores of rupees, and why even an acre of land 20 kilometers down the line would cost you a few lakhs. This explains. And whether the kind of space you have in Chandigarh, if the same is in Bombay, so that could you can multiply it maybe 100,000 times. That will be the kind of income or that will be getting as such. So location is very important because of two aspects. One aspect is that who are my input providers and who are my output providers. That means who are the market. So if you have both things with you in tandem to each other, so this always is considered to be a better location. Because herein, if you set something, you have the customer, because customer has the capacity to pay. But if you set the same thing in a place, maybe in a village, which is 10 kilometers just from Panchkula, see, therein that may not be a viable project. Till the time you sell it across to some other place, manufacturing can be done. All right. I hope it's clear. Then the financial analysis. This is very, very, very important. Now, the base of the entire appraisal is the financial appraisal. Herein, we tend to find it out that what is my cost of a project. Somebody talked about cost of project yesterday. Kal baat ki thi shayad. That what is my cost of project and what is my means of financing. Because from herein, the first things start. Now, we can take one project and then I can discuss one, cost of project and means of financing with you. Any project we can take? आप में से ही कोई ले लेते. What all projects we discussed yesterday? आपका क्या था?
Putting the people at ease.
हाँ, okay, that is an app. All right. Yours? Coaching center था आपका. All right. So we take a slightly different one. See, because if you don't know how to formulate a project, then see, other things may not follow suit. All right. So, for example, I want to set up a pharmaceutical company I want to set up a pharmaceutical manufacturing unit, suppose at Baddi. Then the banker may ask me, why Baddi? So that I have to answer for the technical analysis. What should I answer? That it's an industrial township wherein all inputs are available, and the government has provided certain kind of tax benefits for those who set up their plants here, and it has the entire cluster of industries wherein all big pharmaceutical companies like your Cipla, your Pfizer, your Dabur, and whatnot, all these companies are available. So I think this gives a good measure why we should set up the plant there. Now, if I want to set it up, a plant there, maybe not a very big plant, but a plant of a small or a medium size, and the land is available to me as such, or maybe I have a plot, or maybe my friend or a family has a plot. So now, what points to be considered here? Let's say I want to set up a plant for manufacturing of some injections and tablets for, just for example, maybe cardiac problems, कुछ भी, things like that. So for that, I require the first thing is the land. ठीक है बात? Now, supposing I require for this a land measuring around maybe 4 canals, and that is available to me at the rate of, and this, I mean, this is all hypothetical to show you. Suppose at the rate I get 4 canals at the rate of around 50 lakhs. Yeah? So that means it is 1 crore for an acre. 8 canals is an acre. So 4 canals. So this is your, इसको अगर हम, let us take the rupees in lakhs. So this is 50.00 lakhs. All right. I wish to construct a building also here. Naturally, land has no value till the time manufacturing everything. So I want to have a manufacturing shed. I want to have a shed wherein my staff will sit. I want to have a shed wherein I would be interacting with my customers and clients. So all these three. Now you are all architects. आपको बल्कि और ज़्यादा अच्छा बता पाएंगे. Suppose I want to construct around how much? Maybe 25-30,000 square foot area would be enough for all these three. Let's say 20,000 square foot area. What should be the cost of 20,000 square foot? And it will have 3 different types of constructions. Manufacturing may not have very high class construction. You can have a team set also, but your even employees wherein they are sitting, it may have good construction. But wherein you are interacting with your clients and all people coming from outside the countries and here inside also, it should have a A-class construction. So all of the 3, and then maybe we can take some average. तो आप ज़्यादा बेहतर बता सकते हैं, जी बताएं. 20,000 square foot, how much, what rate I would take?
So I think teen shed वाला है. We can say कि 1200-1500
per square foot.
per square feet.
ठीक है.
और जो थोड़ा सा अच्छा है, हाँ, वो एक्चुअली में अप्रोक्सीमेट 18 से 2,000 रुपए. ठीक है. और थोड़ा सा जो बिल्कुल ही मतलब हाई फाई एंड में है, that might require 9.
Yeah. So what I do is, because our majorly would be the manufacturing shed. So what I do is, on an average I take 2,000. So 2,000 multiplied by 20,000 square foot. कितना हो गया? 40 lakhs हो गया. 40. All right. And apart from this, we will require plant and machine. Supposing we get a plant for 60 lakh rupees from Siemens. All right. I mean, this could be different, but just to take an hypothetical. So land, building, plant and machinery. What else? Then we add, as a now, you may not know this, preliminary and pre-operative expenses. This is professionally like we do, because we don't leave anything to chance. Everything that is a part of project is added by the banker into the cost of the project, so that the project does not suffer because of the lack of funds. So preliminary and pre-operative expenses would mean those expenses which you will bear before the production starts. Let's say you transfer this land in your name. तो जिसकी का amount भरोगे, है ना? So you pay some kind of a stamp duty to the government that is there. Secondly, if you take a electricity connection, you have to pay a security. That becomes a part of this. You take a water connection, you pay a security. That becomes a part of this. Supposing you decided that I will take the machinery from Siemens, and the cost is 60 lakhs. Siemens says you have to pay us an amount of 5 lakhs as a token amount. That is also a part of this. So anything which you pay prior to the start, it becomes a part of this. Even what we were doing was that 3 to 6 months of the interest. Because once you start a business building and all, it may take 3 months, 6 months, and the loaning starts from day one. From the time the bank extends you the financial assistance and the money comes in your account, the meter of banks starts rolling. So therefore, 3 to 6 months of interest also we take it as a part of this. I think I'm clear on this. So let's say we take this figure as around 20 lakhs. Yes, very right, very true. Yes, some token amount to the architect also. Because these buildings, part payment, yes, that kind of
फर्नीचर है सब तो लगेंगे.
फर्नीचर वाला तो वो हम लगाएंगे उसको, उसका एक अलग हेड है हमारे पास, which we term as the miscellaneous and fixed assets. Miscellaneous fixed assets would be your things like cooler, AC, chairs, table, furniture, cameras, machines, typewriter, computer, printer, all these things, bulb, tube light, all these things which are not considered as a part of, because otherwise we are talking about the fixed. These are, everything is termed as a fixed assets. So these are termed as a miscellaneous fixed assets. So anything and everything that will count, that will be counted here as well. And this may we'll take hypothetically, let's say we take another 20 lakhs. And lastly, we have margin money for the working capital. Now, what is working capital? Working capital is that money that we require to actually start the production and complete the production. So this means that while you set up the entire plant with plant and machinery, building, people, everything, you need to have raw materials to start the production cycle, and you need to have people who would put this raw material, convert this raw material into a finished product. And till the time you sell your products, till that time, maybe it may take a time period of 2 months, 3 months, 4 months. So your power bill is also coming up, your water bill is also coming up, your personal bill, that means the salary is also coming up, and you need to pay to your suppliers also who are supplying you certain kinds of inputs. So that total should be covered into the entire thing, which we term as a working capital. But margin money for working capital. Now, incidentally, the banks have two types of loans that they give it to you. One is the term loan, which I am talking about, which will be financing the overall fixed assets, that means land, building, machinery. And other is the working capital loan, wherein it will be financing the raw materials. So, but we know that this loan will be given to you by the bank. But for every 1 rupee that you require from the bank, 25% margin money you should bring in of your own. So this 25 shall be a part of the project. See, now you see, I have not left anything to the chance. As an appraiser of the project, I have gone through each and everything so that can hamper the project. Otherwise, if you leave this to chance and bankers say, okay, show us, let's say suppose for example, suppose your working capital requirement is 80 lakhs. So 25% that you have to show with you is 20 lakhs. 1/4 of 80 lakhs. So you require 20 lakhs here as well. And if you don't have, and if I don't include it as a part of the project, then maybe you would bring the money from somewhere and put it across, and that may hamper or restrain your project cost as such, or total project, and it may even be reason for failure of the project also. I hope I am clear on this. Now, करिए total कितना हो गया? 90, 150, 10 lakh. हाँ, अब ये बन गया This is the cost of the project. So later, maybe tomorrow or some years later, if you would like to approach a banker, there's no need for you, to approach a professional for making this project good. You can follow this performer that I am giving to you, or we are discussing, and then once you follow it up, you can have your own and then approach a banker with a lot of confidence, and it will be through. Because you already answered your questions which the banker is going to ask you. So is it clear? Shall I wrap it up? 2 crore 10 lakhs. अब सवाल ये आता है कि जो ये 2 करोड़ 10 लाख है, ये आएगा कहां से? So first thing, like you were saying that we are teachers, we don't have money, है ना? So first thing you have to ensure that I have that kind of money wherein to start the project. And if I don't have, then maybe I get the resources from wherein I get that money. Prior to approaching the banker, we should be very clear कि इतना पैसा हमारा इतना project होगा, ये पैसा आपसे चाहिए, इतना मैं लेके आऊंगा. Now we term this as a means of financing. For the means of financing, the first thing that you have is your own capital. See, as a teacher, हम सबसे ज्यादा खुश कब होते हैं? जब हम इवैल्यूएट करते हैं पेपर. When are we the happiest? किसी भी एक स्टूडेंट का पर्चा हम देख रहे होते हैं ना, when we are the happiest. सबसे ज्यादा खुश कब होते हैं? बच्चे नंबर से अच्छा लगता है. बच्चे को नंबर तो देखिए आपके हाथ में है ना,
वो भी जो मेरे एक्सपेक्टेशंस है उसके अकॉर्डिंगली.
हाँ, मतलब कई बार ऐसा होता है ना, लेट्स से इवन आई इवैल्यूएट पेपर, समटाइम्स देयर इज अ पेपर which is firstly very neatly done, secondly the concepts are very clear, thirdly its presentation is also good, then he is showing things in diagram, pictogram. I mean, you feel very good that okay, oh, this is a good paper. और नुकसान उसका क्या हो जाता है कि all those papers who come after that paper, this becomes a benchmark. मतलब उनकी लगी जाती है जो उसके बाद लड़के बेचारे बदकिस्मती उसमें जो वो आए, हाँ, तो उसका एंड में आए तो फिर तो कोई प्रॉब्लम, लेकिन अगर ये शुरू में आ गया तो फिर बाकी सबके नंबर कटेंगे. As a matter of fact. So banker, when is the banker happy? Banker कब खुश होता है? When you ask him lesser money and you try to bring in your own money, so he is very happy. What is the reason? क्यों खुश होता है वो? हालांकि उसकी टारगेट है, उसको he has the target. अगर आपका 2 करोड़ 10 लाख है और आप कह रहे हो कि मैं तो आपसे बस 40 लाख मांगता हूँ.
That indicates your intention also.
Yes, that is the most important. Yes, that is the point. That is the bullseye. That shows your involvement in the project. So that means the more you involve money into the project, the more your involvement in the project. Why did Mr. Dash Dash go to London and he has 9,000 crores spending? Why did he go away?
उसका स्टेक तो था ही उसमें.
Precisely. So bankers are never happy in this case. Otherwise, bankers मतलब आपसे क्वेश्चन मिल जाएगा जैसे तो सर this 2 crore 10 lakhs, I just want 50 lakhs. तो पहला सवाल बैंकर क्या पूछेगा? Sir, why only 50? Or otherwise you say, sir, my project cost is 2 crore 10 lakhs and sir, I want 1 crore 80 lakhs from you. And what will he say? दोनों में देखो कितना रिएक्शन चेंज हो जाएगा उसका. हो गया 1 crore 80 नहीं हम देते. So now the norm of Indian banking is that minimum amount that a promoter has to bring in should not be less than 25%. But there is a debt and equity ratio that you have to maintain. This should not be greater than 2:1. So meaning thereby that if I bring in as a promoter my 1 rupee, banker, you as a banker would be able to give me how much? 2 rupees. That means for every 1 rupee that I have, the banker can pay me 2 rupees. So what is the exposure then? What is the exposure then? If the debt equity ratio is 2:1, then how much is the percentage that the promoter has to bring in? Not less than 33. So 40% से भी ऊपर चलेगी बात. Alright. So in this case, out of 210 बड़ा अच्छा हमारे पास मिल गया है ना. It's very balanced also. Banker can.
Why do you call 25% the promoter has to bring in? Where is It's in fact 33% needing from the
That is the minimum. This is a good question. That is the minimum that should come out of the pocket of the promoter. There is something known as a quasi equity. Quasi equity. That means a half equity, which is not a full equity, but that can be equity, promoter's capital. So it could be a half equity. So that means what we include therein is long-term loans from friends and relatives, which could be interest-free also and which could be interest-bearing also. So that can be considered as a part of promoter's capital for that 8%. Like how the people used to do, they say, okay, 2 crore, जैसे हम बनाते हैं इसको, promoter's capital, let's say 25% कितना हुआ? 2 crore 10 lakh. How much is that amount?
52 lakh and 50,000.
How much?
52 lakh and 50,000.
Okay, so he says, all right, I am bringing in 55 lakhs. It is more than 25%. Now, LTLs, long-term loans from friends and relatives, and these are interest-free. So how much? Let's say 15 lakhs. So this makes our 33%. And bank हो गया clear? Otherwise, see, you have to bring in minimum 52.5 from your own pocket. That should come from your own pocket. वो किसी से नहीं आएगा, आपको अपनी पॉकेट से लाना पड़ेगा. And this you can show, okay, you raised 55, you said, okay, sir is there and he will be putting in 2 lakhs. And he says, Dr. Chadda will put in 3 lakhs. Dr. Sen Gupta will put in another 5 lakhs. और ये बन के आपका 15 लाख हो गया, and banks will not have no problem here. And banks will give you 1 crore 40 lakhs. तो बन गया, हो गया means of financing. So if your project sustains till this point, then that is fine. Otherwise, many of the I've seen entrepreneurs coming and they are over by the first slide. यहीं पे खत्म हो जाता काम. Because they don't know. Now, is this all right? Okay. Supposing now this becomes your. Now this is the base. Our loan is how much? 1 crore 40 lakh. So we have to service banker's eyes is on 1 crore 40. अब उसको क्या मिल गया एक point. उसको वो 1 crore 40 पे ही है पूरा. Now he says, all right, sir, we will give you 1 crore 40. Now tell me, how many years you want to repay this? And you say, what will be your rate of interest? Now you are on the negotiating table. And he says, then how much you are generating so that you can pay me my 1 crore 40. So let's see that and then we come across that. So supposing 140 lakhs for 10 years at the rate of, let's say, 15%. Now, as a banker, you have given them the repayment period of 10 years. That means every year the party has to repay principal amount of how much? 140 divided by 10. 14 lakhs to principal ही जाएगा. And apart from 14 lakhs as a principal, you will be paying reducing balance of at the rate of 15%. अब वो देखो कैसे बनेगा. पहले साल के लिए आप पे करोगे 140 lakhs पे, ठीक है? Second year you pay on 126 lakhs. Third year you pay on 14 था ना? 112 lakhs. Fourth year 98. Fifth year how much? 84. 6, 70 and so on and so forth. अब आप निकालो जरा पहले साल अगर 1 crore 40 लाख है 21 lakhs. ठीक है. So that means how much? 14 is principal और ये फिर सारा आपका बन जाएगा. Now banker, for you to take a loan, you should be able to generate 35 lakhs of what you have to pay to the bank, and apart from this, you need to have money which will, take care of all your administrative expenses and all kinds of expenses. Am I clear on this till this point so far? So good. All right. Any questions that comes to your mind?
So the question is, initially you are already running into loss, right? In the start of your business, initially you realize breaking point after a long time. Generally, you're already running in red for a long time, and you have to repay a huge amount of loan. This is a contradictory kind of thing. It would be very difficult to run the business in this way.
But that is how things are. That's how things are. See, yes, you are right that way. Because initially the parties would want to have a long rope, and this 10 years is also longish because we used to give time period 5 to 7 years. 10 years भी मैंने ज़्यादा कह दिया just to make it more simpler. But that is how things are. So that means your project should be able to generate much more than it should be able to pay. Otherwise, it will run into problem. And mind you, this you are doing on paper before the start of the project. So that means you already have some handles to screw, tighten the screws and maybe lessen them. अब इसको देखो हम कैसे बनाएंगे. So that is why I said this is we term as financial engineering. This is financial engineering, wherein with a small touch of a button you can change things. Let's see how. So that means first year he has to pay us how much? 35 lakhs. Now this is one side of the table. As a banker मेरी निगाह कहाँ होगी? 35 लाख लेना है भैया पहले साल में. तो जनरेट कितना करना पड़ेगा आपको? 70-80 लाख. तब आपका 35 लाख बनेगा. Now we work out on your revenue model. This is all on paper. See, that is why those projects who come to a banker, and many a times the project become viable and they fail to fail. Because had they been done directly by the entrepreneur, even if he had that kind of a money, they would have failed. So somebody, it is like a good teacher also. I mean, this is good aspect. So you say what we are manufacturing, you say, let's say we are manufacturing injections and we are manufacturing tablets. Supposing two. Supposing, now this is all hypothetical, suppose we are manufacturing injections to the tune of per annum, for example, we have set up 10 machineries. Each one machinery we are manufacturing how much, let's say, per day we can manufacture. I don't have much idea about it, but maybe suppose 100. So 100 into 300, 65 into 10. And bankers will not take 365 as working days. So what they will take it? 300 working days. So let's say we manufacture 100 vials or whatever injections per shift into 300 days. First he is taking, वो पूछेगा हाँ भी कितना शिफ्ट चलाओगे? अब बोलो भी एक शिफ्ट. तो ठीक है एक ये मशीनरी and you have 10 machines. So how much? 100 into 300 into 10. And let's say if this injection is sold in the market for suppose 40 rupees. So this is the maximum capacity that you are getting. करिए multiplex that. How much? 40 lakh. नहीं 12 तो हो गया ना.
1 crore.
12, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1 crore 20 lakhs. 1 crore 20 lakhs. And tablets, suppose we are manufacturing that slips. Again, suppose for example 100 into 300, and we have 5 machines. And one of the slip costs 10 rupees. So how much? 3 5s are 15, और 2 2 4 और 1 5. 15 lakh. So total revenue at the installed capacity कितना हो गया? नहीं 1 crore है वो. 1 crore 135 lakhs. ये बना दिया हमने. So far बैंकर को लग रहा है कि ठीक है. So far so good because आपकी figure already I was saying 70-80 lakhs. ये बन गई 1 crore है. Mind you, एक शिफ्ट ही चल रहा है अभी. So we have another leverage with us. But banker smart है, उसने 365 days नहीं कभी लिए. He has taken around how much? He has taken already 300 days. Now he says, as a banker, he says this is your installed capacity. Now what will be the utilized capacity? कभी आपकी मशीन टूट जाएगी, कभी ब्रेकडाउन हो जाएगा, कभी स्ट्राइक हो जाएगी, कभी छुट्टी हो जाएगी. So banker, as a banker, you never take full capacity in one go. So what we used to do? See, he says this is the capacity at 100%. First year, he says this will be, you will be able to realize only 60%. अब आप निकालो 135 into 0.6 कितना हो गया? मतलब he is not taking any kind of a risk. What I want to say.
That's 54 lakh.
कितना?
54 lakh हो रहा है, reduce करना पड़ेगा.
हाँ नहीं 135 into 0.6 कर देना. कितना दो 81 हो गया. हाँ 81. मतलब this was a norm that we were taking. First year we never used to take more than 60% utilized capacity. Second year 70%, because second year you have established yourself, you will be in a much better position. कितना हो गया? Is there 92 के 3 आएगा?
4.5.
94? 94.5. हाँ second year में आपका बन गया 94.5. Third years and onwards 80%. मतलब 100 वो कभी भी नहीं लेता banker. Banker never takes is around 100%. He says 60, 70, 80 and 80 for another 10 years. कितना हो गया? 1 crore 8 lakhs. 108. So for him, these are the figures, not this. First 81, 94, 180. मैं जो आपको कह रहा था तकरीबन वैसे ही फिगर आ गया 80 के आसपास. Alright. So he says, alright, this is your revenue model, but then supposing one example, otherwise no, we go into details about your manpower, power, others, है but यहाँ पे just for example, suppose we are selling at 40, and we are manufacturing this, our operating cost, supplier, everything मिला के, we are let's say it is coming at rupees 30, or how much would you like? 20 नहीं होता 20 नहीं होगा. See, game is of 1-2%, 5-10%. Entire game which it moves is 10%, 15%. बस सारा मिला के पूरी line तक. But I would say, let's say, okay, it is 40 rupees, or we can take it 25, just to make it profitable. Financial engineering. So आपका cost लगा लीजिए. यहाँ पे मतलब 15 जो actually profit हुआ, वो 15 तो इधर हुआ, और ये 10 था, तो यहाँ पे आपका 6 लगा लीजिए ऑपरेटिंग कॉस्ट, तो 4 यहाँ पे बचा. तो देखें कितना हुआ. How much? Have you understood? I say this is the selling price, the cost for which I am manufacturing this. Herein it is 25, and herein it is 6 rupees. So that becomes the operating cost. So that will be the amount that will be left to me after I deduct all the costs. तो कितना हुआ वो?
45 lakh
ऊपर कितना?
45 lakh.
45, ठीक है. Alright.
This is
ये 4. Sorry 6. 6 lakhs. तो ठीक है. मेरे को तो क्या है, आपने मेरा कितना देना है? 35 देना है. So also I'll be interested. Because I have the leverage here. One leverage is that we can go for a second shift. Other leverage is that I already know I have done my sensitivity analysis. मैंने आपको already निचोड़ दिया यहाँ पे 1 करोड़ 35 से मैं 81 पे ले आया सीधा. So I said okay, I'll be interested to do this loan, because after paying everything you have still got 51. So if you pay me 35, so I said okay 51 ना भी हो आपके 40 आ जाएगा, तो मेरे तो 35 आएंगे. Alright, so then you have something for you as well. So sir, I will be interested in doing this loan for you. So see, this is, and there are other things also that you see. Break-even point you have already studied that we do. Projected profitability, balance sheet. This is a projected profitability that I worked out. Though I have not gone into much details, but we go into each and every detail. What is the raw material cost? What is the cost of employees? What is the cost of power? What is the cost of fuel? What is the cost of any other costs that are there? Marketing cost, commercial cost, tax to the government. Tax भी दोगे भैया इसके ऊपर. 51 ऐसे नहीं बनेगा. इसके ऊपर आप 30% टैक्स लगा लो.
tax free areas.
हाँ, but I think excise duties and some other corporation tax तो government of India का है, वो तो देना पड़ेगा. तो 30 निकल गया इसमें से. So we are at touch and go, but still I would go with you. As a, if everything is fine, promoters are okay. हाँ तो ठीक है, पर leverage ले लिया ना यहाँ से. So banker will go with you कि ठीक है सर आप बोलो इसमें, banker ही आपको suggest करेगा. Sir you say we go for 2 shifts, or we put in one more machinery. So then that will, अगर आप ये machinery एक और लगा लो 10 की जगह 11 कर लो. But mind you, don't you think this gives you a lot of confidence here? Rather than somebody was coming and said, sir मैं 2 machine लगा लूँगा. Getting my point? So this gives you a lot of confidence here that okay, what I am doing is very good on paper. So still now you will face a lot of problems while you are implementing it. But somebody who just jumps in the water with two hands, you're testing the water with both the feet. Like the best way is just with 1 feet you test the water. But the other cases without doing this, you're testing it with both the feet. So that means if it is actually deep, you go down the drain and you don't come back also. So that is what it is. Eh? So this was the financial, though we do others also, like I'm talking about break even and I'm talking about sensitivity analysis, a projected. See, we do require time because see, we do economic appraisal also. Next, just see. This I've included. Economic appraisal would mean how the market is moving. We go on CMI data, how the what are the projections of the market regarding this. Let's say we are into this wires and who are the competitors. All these aspects need to see. And in the commercial appraisal, we talk about how we'll be able to sell this across. How would you be able to market this? What will be the costing? Why people will buy this? What will be your supply chain? Everything goes into this. We took around 1.5 to 2 months generally. And if they were repetitive, some projects were very repetitive in nature. So then it did not take much because we were doing it. But yes, if I have to do, I did one project of a film city at Faridabad. It was a very novel project. Then I did one project for manufacturing of these, these credit cards and all debit cards, that new technology was coming up at that point of time, that I did. Then I did one project for this Amartex. This was additional loan. We didn't take much time. I know promoters because I said first one is the promoter. If everything is okay, I can give you example of maybe you put in 11 machines. This is all then a financial engineering. If the promoters are not good, then maybe we put some spanner and say no as such. So all these needs to be as such done. And if you do all these things, then we say it's a techno-economic feasibility report and the project becomes a viable project. So if later, if you just think it over with the business plan that you have, now add upon this aspect. All right, you can request sir to give my presentation to you so that, and then you may save maybe 1.5 to 2 lakhs, which you would be giving to the chartered accountant. My CA friends will not like me for this, but yes, you can save. Because teachers generally do not have that kind of money. All right. So thank you so much. Any questions like to ask? All right. I hope I'm clear on this. Otherwise, it's quite boring in numbers and all. But I think you were a good audience as such. All right. Any questions? No. You can ask them also. Chalo, theek hai. Thank you so much. Thanks a lot.